Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the four newly elected board members please stand and we'll read the acceptance of office and the oath of office. I hereby accept
the office of school board member of Independent School District number 2165
for the
for a term beginning January 12, 2026 and expiring December 31st, 2029. I swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District number 2165 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for serving our school district. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the board agenda?
I have one addition just for communications, which I put each of you have a copy in your board folders from Resource Training and Solution. Otherwise, nothing else changed.
We have an agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Could I add one item to the agenda?
He needs a motion and a second.
You need to make
Okay.
a motion.
Yes,
and a
you can make
second.
a motion and
Okay.
then somebody needs a second.
I was wondering, could we make a motion to, since we're having some financial difficulties, I think we could save some money if we considered having elections on even years. I think Brian said he would look into the cost savings, and I think if there's cost savings, we should do it. Save money wherever we can. That's what I would like to consider putting on the agenda, if we could discuss that.
Okay, Toby has a motion to put our elections on the agenda. Is there a second?
So this is you're wanting a discussion about that?
I would like
Because
to,
that would then go, when would you want it to start?
I would like to discuss the feasibility of moving our election cycle to even years so we can save the school district some money. I think it's low hanging fruit, easy money we can save, more convenient for people. There's more locations where they can vote. And I think it'd be a win-win situation.
So you're wanting to just discuss it, not make a motion to make the change?
I'd like to just add it to the agenda and maybe research it. Maybe we could make a change tonight, maybe look into it more. But at least discuss it, and maybe Brian has some numbers of savings.
I don't have numbers at this time, comparable numbers.
Okay, so we have a motion to add it to the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll do roll call. Leo?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Dave?
No.
Toby?
Yes.
Heather?
No.
Angela? No. Motion passes 4-0. 4-3. Motion passes 4-3. So we will add that to the end.
Yeah, give me a second. Close enough. Okay.
Next up is our officer nomination and election. Our current officers are, the chair is open. Vice chair is Angela Grotowski, clerk Dave Ugel, and treasurer Leo Earlbeck. The officers must be elected by a majority unless there is only one nomination. Then the person is elected by acclamation. We will have a roll call vote if multiple nominations are taken. For office of chair, are there any nominations?
I nominate Heather.
Heather Hansen. For the office of chair, are there any more nominations? For the office of chair, are there any more nominations? The newly elected chair is Heather Hansen. Please take over. Let's do the search.
Don't forget your name tag.
Okay, for the office of vice chair, are there any nominations?
I nominate Angela.
For office of vice chair, are there any more nominations? For office of vice chair, are there any more nominations? The newly elected vice chair is Angela Grahowski. For the office of clerk, are there any nominations?
I nominate David. What?
For the office of clerk, are there any more nominations? For the office of clerk, are there any more nominations? The newly elected clerk is Dave Rubel. For the office of treasurer, are there any nominations?
I nominate Leo.
For the office of treasurer, are there any more nominations? For the office of treasurer, are there any more nominations? The newly elected treasurer is Leo Hurlbeck. Thank you to the new officers. Remember to check in that your signature is recorded in the district office for legal documents.
She's here.
Okay. Okay, now we're on to our committees. Is there any discussion or are there any questions regarding the school board committees? And if you're on any committees, are there any that you would like to be taken off of? Are meetings hard to get to? Or would you like to switch, or is there any that you'd like to be on?
So, knowing that Jamie's a little bit newer, she might want some of those committees. I mean, did you look at any of the committees that you're interested in?
Might just talk through some with Heather and kind of hear about what different options there are, and I'm happy to join some of them and learn more about them. I just beginner stages.
Yeah. So SCRED is a little bit more, so I'm willing to take over SCRED.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, and I'm willing to give that one up. Toby, would you be okay if I took the alternate for SCRED?
Absolutely.
That would be okay?
Right.
Okay. Just because I can do that. Okay, so put Janelle as SCRED, and I will take the SCRED alternate.
Okay, I'm caught up so far.
Okay.
I don't know, so the committees that you were on, Heather,
She's down here.
yes. So with the communications and retention, that is I think that, I really like that committee.
Yep.
However, and because, there's more communication and things, you know, it's more staff or community led, and there's more response to that one. I don't know the in-depth of the evaluation or the commodity bids.
Those ones, evaluation and commodities, I'm staying on.
Okay, but you need another person, don't you?
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. I
Should
would
have
like
3.
Jamie to take my, communications and retention.
Okay,
Evaluation doesn't happen that often. It's if we're ever gonna change either the principal evaluation system or the teacher's evaluation. Teachers just got changed last year. Principals, we didn't change when we redid that policy a few months ago. So it kind of comes as needed. Commodities does happen every spring, sometimes more often if we go out for bid on anything else, but typically it's just a spring meeting to approve our milk, dairy, garbage, and diesel bids.
Okay, so that one's not too intensive.
Not terrible. It's usually a one-hour meeting.
You just need to switch the spread alternative from Jamie to me.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
I do not have to be on teaching and learning. I thought of you maybe, Janelle, with that one because it's very curriculum focused. And I know that if you were interested in that one.
I would be interested in that.
Okay, then I will assign Janelle to teaching and learning. And then, how does that look?
I'll clean that up to make it look nicer tomorrow, but
Okay, does that look good to everybody?
just so the three, as long as we're on committees, Heather and Dave and Leo will start support staff negotiations probably end of the month, and I'll shoot you email with some dates when we'll start doing that. Is it? We should take a motion to approve the changes.
Is there a motion to approve the school board committees?
Second.
Alright, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say aye. Motion passes. Alright, Dave, do you have any questions on attendance?
Nope.
Okay. Next up is open forum. Rules for open forum. 3 minutes per speaker. Open forum shall not take more than a total of 15 minutes. No complaints about individual staff members, about students, or about other persons are permitted. All presenters will conduct their business in a manner that meets community standards for decorum. The board will not take action on items presented in an open forum. Brian, did anyone sign up for open forum?
No.
Does anybody wish to speak? Next up is consent agenda. Consent agenda. Does anyone need anything pulled from the consent agenda and placed later in the agenda for further discussion? Brian, did you add anything to the consent agenda since Friday?
I did not.
Looking for a motion. Oh,
Can I just ask one question on the girls' hockey agreement? Is that, I know a year or two ago we talked about switching. Is that still?
So this would take effect for this school year.
I know.
If you would want to change that.
How long is it?
Bonnie, do you remember if we had to give certain days notice, if that was gonna be terminated? I believe we had to get a year notice,
Okay,
so we may have missed it for next, but I don't know if it's the start or the end of the season. If it's the start of the season, we would have missed that already.
okay.
I can look that up though, but this agreement is for the current school year.
Right. No, I noticed that, but I thought, well, we talked about it for a while, but, okay. Fine.
If I remember correctly, though, people decided not to make the change for those that were in girls' hockey.
Because there was one girl that was upper.
Yeah, we have one, we were gonna at least see the older kids through, which I believe, I don't know this for certain this year, I believe they're a senior or junior. Junior, so we'd wanna see them at least through for
Right,
next year.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All against? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the bills.
If you have questions on the bills, please state the page number and bill number. Are there any questions on bills? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
We'll make that move.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Motion passes 7-0. Next is the superintendent's report. Go ahead, Brian.
Just a couple things, in your packets, it's not on my schedule, but just, I wanna make sure I hit it. Tomorrow, there's a retirement party for Becky Mackey, if you're able to attend, it's at 3 o'clock in the community ed spaces. We have 3 board members and myself going to the MSBA conference this Thursday. And then this Friday, I just wanna hit that if you're around town, the Lions are hosting a supper before our boys basketball game against East Central. So if you're able to, we'll be having supper in the high school cafeteria, starting at, I believe, 4, which will lead then right into the boys basketball games later that evening. MSBA puts out for board members news clippings, articles. If you haven't signed up for that or are interested in seeing that, I included Gary Abbott's email address, or if you reach out to me, I can help you get set up for that. But they do send out email notifications almost daily to school board members. So if you're interested in that, either email Greg Abbott or let myself know. In January, we do things, different might not be the right word. A lot of school districts in January do the full organizational board meeting, first meeting of the calendar year. We do most of these things in July. That's just been the Hinckley-Finlayson practice. And I look for discussion on this. Maybe we don't want to change it, but would there be any interest in changing to do a full organizational meeting starting next year in January rather than doing most of these items in July? I never heard a complaint from a board member. There really hasn't been a lot of discussion, but just thought bring it up again, as there are some school districts who do all of this in January. Like I said, we do most of this in July. Any interest in changing that as we go forward in the next calendar year?
Would there be any benefit to changing it?
The only benefit, because July we also set fees, the only benefit is we may know that a little better when we're setting the budget, but a lot of those fees are hard to predict because you don't know how many people are going to come to events or sign up for memberships, things like that. It's working just fine. You know, those aren't major financial resources for the district that we're setting those fees on. And the student fees that we do set, there is still plenty of time to communicate that to families if there are changes before the next school year starts.
Did they give a rationale for why they're recommending January for these items?
I think just the first of the calendar year, yeah.
But doesn't it, we go by a fiscal year, so doesn't it make more sense to do it in July than in the middle of our?
Like the newspaper, it'd be weird if, granted, Hinckley doesn't have a lot of options for newspaper, but if we had multiple options for newspaper, it'd be weird, in my opinion, to change that mid-school year. You certainly can, but if we were changing banks or legal counsel mid-school year, that maybe wouldn't be the best ideal time to do that. Certainly you could, but you also could be, that may not be a good idea. I think keeping it as is fine, but just thought I'd bring it up and see if the board wants to change that.
I would say we keep it as is, but keep it with our fiscal year, our calendar.
Next item I had is the signboard that's out here by the district office doors is coming to the end of life. Like I have in here, it's running on an old Windows platform that Windows no longer supports. As our technology directors kind of looked at possible options for replacing that, there is a pretty good price tag to that with just the first couple quotes he's received so far is between $43,000 and $53,000 to get a new signboard up. So I'm wondering, before Mike and I get too far into the getting quotes of this, as we're starting to work on capital budget, things like that, wanted to get the school board's opinion. Maybe we can find something cheaper, but this is kind of what we have found so far. Wondering if the school board wants to continue having that digital signboard out there or wants to look at something else. Wondering what the thoughts are.
How old is that signboard?
Well, it's been there at least 15 years. It's been there ever since I've been here. I bet you it's close to 20 years.
What part of the signboard is not becoming functional or usable?
The computer can't run it. It's run remotely, and it's a Windows 10, which Windows isn't supporting anymore. None of our computers have that platform to run it, so we're not even able to run it much longer.
So we still have a usable computer though?
Currently, it's working, yes.
Is there any way to do an update, like a patch essentially?
Mike talked about, I can't remember what Mike answered on that. I can ask him again. I believe that's what we're doing this year, which is a temporary fix, is what he told me, but I can ask if there's a permanent patch.
I mean, even if we do get a new one, how many people go on that road and would see it? Between cars parked there and all the stuff going on right at that intersection, how many actually look? If we're gonna spend that kind of money, do we put it on 61? So it's actually seen by people? I just think that's a lot of money to put on this.
And it's just that lower.
Yep. And they have bigger, better ones now, probably than that. Probably the bigger the better, the more expensive. But they probably have ones that show pictures now.
But with technology changing, how long is that gonna last?
Correct. Could you be in the same boat?
5 years from now.
Yep.
This was probably our social media before social media was a thing.
Yeah, it's a question of how valuable it is.
Really what it promotes is our athletic game. Community Ed has started to post down there, but do we get the same impact by using social media and remind? I don't know. But before we went and spent or proposed to spend that money, I wanted to see if that's what you'd like us to do.
I don't think we should at this point
I think it's a lot.
spend that much money.
And the other part that I have on here, talking with some of you regarding transportation, and thank you to those who have reached out, and we've had some conversations. And as of now, we still have not yet hired a new mechanic. Wondering if now is the right time to again go out for third-party bid for our transportation. That link, which I'll pull up here, I had our business manager redo this. This link, she redid our costs in comparison to what 4.0 and Palmer gave us in 2023. The board had seen this, but I had her go back through the bids. They had projected what fiscal year 24, 25, 26, 27 would cost. I had her update our costs. Certainly if we went out for bid, Palmer and 4.0 or another company could certainly change that. Their numbers are old. But when she got down here to the bottom, what she also calculated that we didn't have before were some of the outsourcing of costs we've had to do, such as going to United Truck or some of our local businesses for help with repairs or tires or fixes. And what I point out is these numbers as you compare ours, which is the far left, Palmer was the middle, and 4.0 was far to the right. They're much closer, if not potentially more expensive than what we had been received for bids 2 years ago. Again, I'll say if the board wants to go for bids, these numbers from these two companies could 100% change. But I simply had our business manager update based on our records and compare what the bids were then to what our costs are now. and you can see down here in the green, they're much more comparable than they were 2 years. The part that Bridget did not include, we did not include sub-driving or insurance claims, because those are unpredictable, and she doesn't have insurance there either, which of course we have insurance on our vehicles. So really these numbers in the green are a little bit higher with that. But with not being able to find a mechanic so far, we do have someone else who applied yesterday that we just haven't had a chance to call yet. But with some of the things that have happened in the last few years, I'm wondering if there's interest to go out, get the information from these outside vendors, and then make a decision if we want to outsource our transportation to a third party. Questions?
Are we still needing to utilize services from an outside agency?
No one's tried. So 2 years ago also, the primary reason I came to you then was we couldn't hire enough drivers. We are okay with drivers right now. We have every route, every type 3 route covered. We have a couple people who are driving if something comes up. So it's not necessarily a shortage of staff. Hopefully everyone stays healthy and that continues to go well, but we are doing pretty well with our staff down there.
Are the backup drivers you and Joe?
Those are 2 of them. Mr. Linden's father is also helping us out, Jonathan Horbach. Yes, our three of our 4 backups are Joe, myself, and Jonathan.
Okay.
Bruce obviously is a backup driver, and if and when we have a mechanic, they help too. But yeah, we don't have just backup. We have 1 backup who doesn't do mechanic transportation or another role.
Yeah, that's, I guess, my question.
Yes.
Didn't 4.0 and Palmer talk about buying the buses?
Yeah, back then, 4.0, that's down here in the orange, they had quoted about $680,000 with a 6-year contract for deed at 5%, and Palmer had just bid a little over $1 million. Again, that could change too. Since that time, we've purchased at least 2 or 3 Type 3 vehicles, and then this year we had a brand new bus and a new used bus to us as well. And we also last year sold off a couple of the older ones for scrap.
And I guess it'd have to be rebid, but so then if you've gotten rid of all your buses, it's pretty hard to get away from them unless you took that money and somehow kept it in a fund. So if you say, look, we want to run our own buses, we can buy buses.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise it's kind of...
and there could be, I'm not aware of anyone who's, I'm sure there is schools, I'm just not aware of any school who's made the commitment to change it and gone back. But to answer your second point, my thought would be you take that money and put it into a fund balance for either transportation or for capital type things, improvements of buildings, things like that. Bus garage will need improvements, but I would think you'd take that money, not put it in the general fund, it'd be there to help. If it doesn't work, because then you would have some financial way to buy those buses back, but yeah, that would be it would not go to cover like declining enrollment, things like that.
Would we still have like the Type 3 vehicles or maybe staff meetings?
What we did last time when we put it out for bid, we wanted to keep the truck Keith drives. We wanted to keep the driver's ed vehicle, and at that time we wanted to keep 1 other at our discretion for staff. So we wanted to keep Keith's truck, the driver ed vehicle, and 1 more. And I would think if the board wanted to, we would do something very similar. We'd for sure want Keith's truck and the driver ed vehicle, because we want our stuff plowed. And it's a good opportunity for kids having a driver ed vehicle. And I would think 1 more, like tomorrow, Mrs. Scullard and Mr. Lattimore need a vehicle to go off to a training, so it's good to have that too.
I think at least one maybe needed to. I was gonna say, haven't there been conflicts of interest where we've needed more than 1?
Yeah, yes.
Now,
Yes.
most of the local districts do contract out services.
Our neighbors, East Central does, Pine City does, Mora owns their own still, of our neighbors.
If we go out, I'm afraid that we would never be able to afford to buy our own backup that work out. And we have more control over it. I wouldn't mind seeing if they'd be willing to provide, mechanic service as, but without them controlling and owning the buses.
But haven't local districts also had a lot of positive feedback about contracting out services?
East Central and Pine City have both shared positives with their experience of our neighbors.
Have they had any problems with not having control?
No, the only thing that I know is their superintendent from time to time may work through the billing part with the their transportation director, just questions, but it sounds like it gets worked out pretty seamlessly every time. They still have some say over how that looks.
Once we sell off if we would sell off our bus fleet, how would we have any negotiating advantage if we don't have a bus fleet and all we have is a bus service to provide service? I mean, they'd tell us what the bid is and we'd have to take it, because probably wouldn't be a second company coming in to say, we can serve you, because they're already busy.
I don't know how those negotiations go after the initial contract. I know they do. I don't know how difficult that is with East Central Pine City as they've gone to the next years of their contract. I guess I don't know that answer.
And I think that would bring more uncertainty to our budgets. And I think we want more clarity, more certainty with planning. And I think that would make that much cloudier.
I would just add that we have been notified that we are in like a very serious predicament. And it's been 11 weeks now since we received that notice, and we're still in the same spot. And we were asked to like start immediate steps to correct it. So I feel like we at least have to show that we're we've tried to find a mechanic and we can't. I don't think there's any harm in going out for bid, and maybe because right now, with these updated numbers, we would be saving money when we're trying to save money, but the bids may come back way higher because things have changed in the last few years, but we wouldn't know that until we went to bid.
It doesn't hurt to bid it.
That's what I think. So then at least like if we put it to bid and this state patrol or this Office of People Transportation Safety comes to us, we can at least say, we're going out for bid, we're trying to do something before we don't have a choice and we're told we have to do something. So right now we still do have some control, and we could have an inspection at any time and we're not, like a random, and we're not ready for that.
I mean, I'll give a good shout out to Bruce and his staff who are working as hard as they can, if not harder than they can, on making sure our vehicles are on the road every day safely. But I know, obviously Bruce has his job and the other drivers didn't sign up for that, but they have graciously stepped up, doing a great job, getting our fleet up to par or staying at par. But I know they don't want to do that forever, and Bruce has other responsibilities, obviously, than just taking care of our fleet. I know they don't want to keep doing that forever, and I'm worried if we don't find a mechanic that we're gonna burn them out and maybe be in a tougher situation.
Is the job description for the mechanic one that requires the mechanic to be a substitute bus driver?
We do require that. We try not to have them drive, but because we want them available if something happens, but it is part of the requirement because we don't have a surplus of backup drivers either. And, trying to take other people, trying to share the need for other people who hold other positions as well. And there could be times where the mechanic may have to go, something breaks down, and go help out. And hopefully there aren't kids on board, but it's happened and they may have to jump on a bus, go down and help that out and get the kids and other driver back on the good bus.
My concern is, you know, there might be some mechanics that are well-skilled and would be willing to do the job, but they just don't wanna drive the school bus route. And I think, you know, maybe driving a bus that doesn't have school kids on it might be something they could do, you know, if they have to go to a remote location, swap buses, and they just take the bus that has the mechanical issue and get that back to base. Maybe they'd be willing to do that, but not drive a route. I mean, maybe we get some people who'd want to apply.
We only have them do route in worst case, like if we absolutely have to. Them doing route is not a regular occurrence. But they would need to have their license, like you said, to go help if something does break down. We only have them with kids if we absolutely have to.
Or how about just raising the hourly wage?
We did raise the rate for mechanic. The board had given approval, I think, last month in December to raise it to 60,000. We have had 2 people apply since then. One didn't work out, and like I said, we just got one in the last 24 hours and haven't had a chance to bring them in yet.
How does that compare to Morrow?
I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have it, just not in front of me.
Okay. Is that some information we could get a hold of?
Yep.
Is there any further discussion on transportation?
If we get that information from more, that would be helpful. And if it's decided then that we should look at putting it up for bid, what would our timeline be? I know last time it was a lengthy process.
We had it.
So if it's going out for bid, it needs to be sooner than later, right?
If we're gonna go out for bid, I mean, if the board votes today to go out for bid, I would hope to have it out there publicly no later than the end of the week. We had it posted publicly for 60 days last year, but the process was once that 60 days were up and we had them, that's where the longer process took to get the comparisons. With our business manager already having our comparisons, I think that will go much quicker this time around once we have the bids.
30 for the bids?
30 publicly for the bids, but I don't think it would, I would think the next meeting I would have comparables for you. So if tomorrow's the 13th, we waited till February 3rd, you know, I would think.
Yeah, after the February meeting that bids would be due, so we would have to have a special meeting in a week.
Yeah, but I would think the turnaround to get you comparisons would be much quicker.
What does the 60,000 come out to then per hour?
I think I'll my calculator.
1,080 hours or something like that? 40 hour a week? 1,500 a week.
And it's year round.
What?
And that
Year
position
round
is year round.
Yeah.
So it's right now.
Yeah.
2880.
2880.
Just for clarification, to make sure that I'm fully understanding, by putting up for bid, we're not committing to the bid.
Nope.
So surely there would be no harm in getting that rolling, even while we wait to hear from Maura, correct? Like, correct. No harm in doing it, right?
My
We
only,
have already went out to bid with them once, so if we do it again, are they gonna continue, and we don't, are they gonna, how many times are they gonna give us a bid before they're like, alright,
They probably have a lot of statistics already at hand, you know, for our school districts and what to pay and charge and things like that.
part of that 30-day window last time was to also give any company that wanted to come out and inspect our buses and give a good honest bid on that. One of the 2 did last time, the other one just gave a bid.
Wasn't it the one that was higher? They just gave us
They
a
just
number.
gave a number.
The other
Yep,
one's inspected.
correct.
When we bid on this last time, or when we voted on whether to accept the bids or not, were the bids at Palmer and 4.0 more expensive than our school district
Yes,
costs?
yes, what we had calculated, yes. But when we had calculated that, we had not included things like, we sometimes have to send buses to Duluth to United Trucks. Sometimes we, buy tires from pumps, or, we have some fixes that aren't always taken care of in-house that we have to outsource. Those weren't all included in there. Now they are, at least up to date as of now.
And those not in-house, the out-of-house repairs can be a lot more expensive.
Yep. I mean, even when we're bringing stuff to Duluth, we're also driving and getting it there and then fixing it and then driving it to get it back, and or having it towed and.
Is there a way to, because I know that Toby had mentioned the concern of like if they increase the costs with future years, when we reach out to Pine City or East Central to find out like what the inflation was each time, it's still not inexact, but to give you an idea of what the contract increases have been each year, because I wouldn't think they would vary greatly from one school district to another.
I can ask both of those schools.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, we're looking for a motion to go out for transportation bids.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Illustrated.
There's a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
We will take roll call. You ready, Dave?
Mhm.
Leo?
Yes.
Janelle?
Yes.
Jamie? Yes. Dave?
Yeah.
Toby?
No.
Angela?
Yes.
Heather? Yes. Motion passes 6-1.
That is all I had for my report.
Alright, thank you, Brian. Alright, next is the high school principals.
Could I just ask another question on the superintendent's report?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brian, is there any chance you could come up with how much money we will be saving with, changing the election cycle to even years?
Well,
I think
Wait, isn't that?
we have that on the agenda.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that then?
that's fine, sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Alright. Okay, any other questions for Brian? Okay, we'll move ahead to the high school principals report. Go ahead, Mr. Lattimore.
Good evening. Congratulations, all new board members just sworn in. Mine is, I just did some behavior comparisons through the years. You can kind of see the link there shows the discipline summary from the beginning of school until January 5th of what was in there. And then it was just broke down by categories in the behaviors and underneath. Yeah, there you go, on that one. And then I know I give you like monthly for each month as we go. So mine there on the bottom as of January 1st of, that should say 2026. Sorry, it takes me about a month to get the right year. Thank you, Brett. 2026 is 77% 0 to 1, 15% 2 to 5, and 6 plus is 8%. Again, what we're looking for is that 80, 15, 5. So we're shooting pretty good there when it comes to the overall feel and what's going on in the district. When it comes to that, and as you can see, a lot of ours, the uptick in ours is a lot of technology. We've had a lot of decreases in a lot of different areas. Again, attendance was heavily, we've really reinvested in attendance this year, so those numbers are up. Disruptive, disorderly is down from year over year. Inappropriate language down year over year. Out of place down year over year. So, and again, technology is rising with the new cell phone policies that we've put in place. So, that's those numbers there. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through mine and let Haley speak, and then if there's any questions, you guys can shoot that way. Does that sound okay? Something new that we've started, so we've got a JAG boards, which will be going up, and this is just one of them. They'll be going out throughout our communities. I think we've talked with Northview Bank, they're putting one up. I think we're trying to get a hold of them in Finlayson as well, put one up there. So these are just kind of some cool things going on in our schools. So Mr. Favor from the high school is helping me out with that. So we put these together, and these are things that are going on throughout K-12 happenings in our schools, and trying to get some of that good, the good stuff that are going on in the school out to the community. So like I said, Northview, Daggett's has one, and then we're trying to get one or two up in Finlayson as well. You have one too, right? Yep. So Slim's does as well. So we've got, like I said, those are new around town. So the goal for these is to have these up, and then to have them updated every 1 or 2 months with the happenings going on, with the pictures of our students showing success in the school district. So that's what we have happening with that. So those are kind of exciting going out. They're really cool. So stop by one of our local operations and you can check them out. And then just some my stuff going on here in January. We've got the end of Q2, first semester is already upon us on January 23rd. I believe we're just about halfway through the school year. And then next 2 Mondays, we've got some teacher workshops, and I will be at the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals Conference down in the cities, Minneapolis, January 28th through the 30th. Our high school student school board members, Grady is sweating down on the court, down the road here, but we've got Haley here today to give a little update for us. So
the boys are currently winning by 2 points.
let's go.
It's halftime. For starting off with sports, girls basketball, we are very small in numbers, but we're still having a competitive season. We are at home for the next 8 games, and we're very excited to be here. Yes, we have a game tomorrow. We have lots of 7th graders stepping up and fitting right in with us. For hockey, they have 2 wins just this last week, and they're, according to Autumn, she said that the energy on the team remains high, and it has been a fun season for them, especially more recently with a couple wins, which has been confidence boosting. Boys hockey, they said that they are a game above 500 and are excited for the playoff season to arrive. And then from the wrestlers, it's their senior night tomorrow at Pine City. The one-act play is January 24th in Pine City. The production is called Find Me. I honestly don't know what time it is at in Pine City though. That hasn't been announced yet. Band and choir had their all-conference performance this past Saturday in Mora, and I went to it and it sounded pretty good. It was exciting to watch. Just the directors were fun for me. They were like jumping up and down on stage. But anyways, speech, the junior high kids started off their season this last week. They had a speech meet in Ogilvie. Sounds like it went well. For things happening within inside school hours, student council has begun fundraising for trying to purchase new furniture for the senior lounge. So the chairs that we have at basketball games, we're going to try to get things like that from the same producers. Something for the community and the seniors, which everybody will benefit for some point. And then special congratulations for Grady. He's moving on to the section competition for AAA, January 21st. And then one other thing, for being halfway through the school year, usually the emotion inside the halls and at lunch is way down. But I'd say throughout this whole school year, it has been the most spirited I have ever been, through my 7th grade years. So it's been good.
Thank you, Hayden.
Alright, is there any questions for Mr. Lattimore or Haley?
That spirit you're talking about, what do you attribute that to, that it's getting better?
I feel like kids are just more engaged, partially without the phones. I may or may not have gotten yelled at for mine earlier, but I think it's just at lunchtime, it's seeing kids actually interact with each other. You actually hear people in the hallways talking to each other. I think depends on who your upperclassmen are and if they're wanting to go to events and support each other or just make a difference. And I feel that it's just been positive in a lot of aspects.
Thank you.
Sure, I do have a question. Do you have any behavior figures just for the month of December of this year and then compared to last year?
I can do that. I can get that in our board report for this week. Generally what I do is I just kind of go off of what we kind of did last year, so I wanted to give you kind of the broad range of what was happening. I know that numbers are down from November to December. Of course, we had 3 weeks instead of a full 4, but I will get those December over December numbers for you in your board report for this week.
And then also, do you have any data on how we're dealing with these behaviors as, kind of like looking at the consequence breakdown? Are we assigning lunch detention, the reflection room, detention, suspension, in-school suspension? Can we get some kind of a breakdown on that?
Would that be in the student handbook?
Yeah, I can get those numbers. Yeah. We use New Direction, the alternate out of school suspension. We use the reflection room for a lot of the minor behaviors for the processing. We've started some new campaign when it comes to the technology with the phones. They have to turn them in for a week into the office every morning, and then they don't have them for that time period. Suspensions for some of the major things that are going on that we have. So we are using those tools for what we need. But I can get the breakdown of what the dispositions were.
Do you know off the top of your head, did we issue any detention in the month of December?
We did not. No detention.
Okay, I'm just thinking maybe that's a tool we could use in our toolbox, so we don't have to go from one extreme to the other. Maybe there's a middle ground where that would be an appropriate consequence. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I was just trying to break down what I was. You bet, yeah, I will get that for you, so.
Thank you, Mr. Lenore.
I think we should be proud of the numbers that showing from a year ago. Like tobacco, 39 last year and 1 this year. That's fantastic. So I think you should be proud of what you're doing.
And some of those dispositions is kind of, one of them's tobacco, so it's trying to figure out, and then there's like, I don't know if vaping's on there or not too, so there's kind of, it changes its name. So, but yeah, I think we've had less than that this year. And I think part of that is we've kind of changed how we approach that. Last year it was very punitive on what we did. Like, okay, if you were caught with this, your first offense, you were out, depending on what it was, 2 to 5 days. This year, your first offense, if you're caught with parental approval, and almost all of our parents or guardians have said, yes, do it this way. We've been working with the American Lung Association and with Stanford University. They have an online program where it's basically like it turns into like a half day, so you could call it like an in-school suspension, but they go through a video tutorial. There's some sheets that they have to complete, and then they process afterwards with it's usually Miss Greenwald, who's been working and spearheading that one. So I think that helps because we want to teach our kids, right? So having some opportunities for them to learn the negative effects of what that does to the body is important too. Thank you.
Moving on to the elementary principal's report. Go ahead, Mrs. Scully.
Good evening. Joe talked about our in-service days coming up. On the 19th, we travel over to Mora. We partner with local districts to put on EPIC. I don't know how many years we've been doing it, but it's a great day for our staff. They get to learn from each other. They get to learn from some of their other staff. I know we have some additional outside entities coming in this year than we've had more than we have in the past. But they also get to earn their credits towards renewing their licensure as well. So it's a great day for our staff. Couple of programs we have going on throughout our school district, but kind of at the elementary. We currently give 80 bags out at Hinckley Elementary and 9 out at Finlayson Elementary. So we have 89 kids, elementary kids, taking food home to their families every week. The difference this year is each kid is taking it home versus every family. They used to only get 1 bag regardless of how many kids they had in their family, and now it's 1 per child. So that's, I know families are very appreciative of that coming home. The giving tree again was a great success at Hinckley Elementary. Not only do we have staff and teachers, and we have a lot of community support that give to our kids, and they get a good chunk of items. We had 40 students that were sponsored this year. Just most of our families were able to come in and pick up those gifts for their kids. Vera Meyer and Jill Hopkins go above and beyond to make this happen. And I know there's a lot of other people who contribute their time, but they kind of spearhead that whole concept. Finlayson Elementary collected and donated and sponsored 4 families, which is a good percentage at their building as well. Since I've done this board report, Town and Country has reached out and said that we are up for the voting to collect additional funds from them. So if you're happen to be on Town and Country's website, vote for Hinckley Elementary Giving Tree, and they would give a certain amount donated to the Giving Tree. We will have book bingo coming through again January 29th. We will kick off February I Love to Read month. We've been doing that for a number of years. A nice donation coming in from the Hinckley Lions, and again Jill Hopkins heads that up. FES does book bingo a little bit differently, as they have a closing circle at the end of the month where families come in and get to play book bingo with their kids as well. The other program that I'll talk briefly about, Brian touched on the pancake dinner the Lions are going to put on. Wolf Ridge is $319 per child this year. That has been going up every year. Our 6th grade teachers worked on getting a grant through Wolf Ridge, which brought it down about $100. And then I had a Lions member call me just last week and ask if they could give the rest of the donations from the pancake dinner to our students going to Wolf Ridge. So we'll have that amount here after Friday. We are gonna try and get about 10 students who can come in and show their face and help support that as well. So super excited about that moving forward. Our discipline and attendance data for the last few months, really good. I mean, it's just amazing. We talked about this at our staff meeting on Wednesday. Last November, we had 45. This year we were at 48. I'm not gonna complain, that's great. Last December we had 23. This December we had 26. November we had 92% of our students who did not have a referral. That's amazing. And then December, again, short month, but we had 96% who did not receive a referral. Our attendance, we're hovering right around that 90%. You can see the numbers there. November was 89, December we dropped down to 86. I think that 22nd and 23rd that we had school, we had a lot of kids that just didn't attend. They took that full 2 weeks, so I think that was the dip there. We have a great attendance team at the elementary who really works with our families to identify barriers and what we can do to get them to school. The thing we did up this year is we went through and gathered the data from our students who had habitual truancy last year, and that had improved that by a lot. We were able to send out letters to 22 families along with a coupon for a dilly bar. So just telling them we see the work you're putting in and getting to school. So that was awesome. And the other thing we have going on right now is our benchmarking, which we do 3 times a year. We started on Friday. We'll do that for the next week and a half. We will then have a data meeting at the end of the month where we'll sit and look at the growth that was made, identify areas that we're still a little bit concerned about, or things we can change during win time, or how we can support those students who still have those deficits that aren't closing the gap at all, so. That's kind of what I have for this month.
Is there any questions for Mrs. Stelly?
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, next we'll move on to the community ed report. Is that written on?
Nope, that's me now.
Hi.
You can see the class review and the attendance for the things we had in the last month. One thing that was talked about at the community ed meeting this past week is after the board approved that all adults will pay for pool admissions, that's also kind of helped bring on some new walking track memberships and fitness center memberships, and you can see that there as you kind of put that package together. So we've seen that happen. You can see what the rentals for December are. Thank you to the Lions for donating to help cover the costs of swimming in January and February for our kids. I'm sure Keith will talk about it a little bit more in his report, but we are still looking at costs for a pool cover. Right now we're getting quotes still around that $40,000. Keith and I talked about that a little bit today, seeing if we can bring the costs down, especially with our staff being able to install it, and we really just need the cover. We have the mechanics, but I don't want to steal Keith's thunder, but he's working on that. But it's quite a cost. And the other thing Keith and I talked about is if we can't get the cost down, and I think we should, for $40,000, Keith doesn't think we're spending $40,000 worth of chemical,
Extra,
where's the breakdown, yes, we're spending more, but are we spending 40 grand more every year? So Keith and I will do that if we can't get that cost down, but otherwise some upcoming events in community ed. The mother-son bowling is March 8th. The senior dinner is March 13th. May 13th, not March 13th. The Chanhassen Dinner Theater, which I know as soon as those tickets are released is going to go quick, but she's hoping to release registrations this week. But that trip's planned for March 11th. Again, we've had some very generous donations that have come into community ed. The yoga grants have helped a lot. If you saw social media postings, yoga grants are now going to help cover after school activities costs for all the county schools. So there won't be the individual yoga grants anymore, but what was funding that is now going to cover 7th through 12th grade activities for all 4 county schools. So, but otherwise we're getting some very generous donations from our community that's helping us keep good programming for our kids. Questions on community ed?
How can the public follow the registration process for the Chanhassen Dinner Theater? Do they go on the website somewhere and just keep checking? Or
She was going to put it on social media and the website. So it'll go out on Facebook Remind, and then it'll also, when it's ready, it'll be on the community ed webpage, the Hinckley-Finlayson community ed webpage.
And that'll be sometime this week?
This week. She was hoping by the end of this week, yes.
Okay.
And then you have the payment to her in order to receive her spot.
Is there any cost?
I have it written down, yes. Is it 30?
I want to say 36. But
I was going to say 35. It's right around that $35 to $40 range.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's very reasonable.
I can find out from Pam tomorrow and let you know if you want to know.
Do you know what the show is?
Forget that too. My wife asked me the same thing and I said, I don't remember.
Guys and dolls.
Yes.
Guys and dolls.
Guys and dolls, thank you.
And wholesale.
Guys and dolls.
Guys and dolls.
Thank you.
the father-daughter dance is April 11th.
April 11th. Not to be.
Well, it was determined.
It was
last
determined.
Thursday.
It was determined after the report was done.
All right, and then next we have the athletics report. That's written only. If you have any questions on that, please let Brian know and he will touch base with Mandy and get those questions answered. So we'll move on to the head of maintenance report. Go ahead, Keith.
The summer projects that we completed in summer still ongoing. We completed gym 3-4, which was completed. Took a little longer than expected, but now it's completed. Johnson Controls completed their upgrade that we redo. There is still more to that, but yeah, at what cost? Water heater at FES was replaced with a high efficiency water heater. Leveling out the practice football field and track area. Resurfacing gym 1 floor at Hinckley-Finlayson High School. LED lighting changeover is still in progress. We are at about 90% at the high school, pretty much completed at FES. And I will find out exactly how much we have left at Hinckley Elementary in a couple weeks. Minnesota Power came through during winter break to do a light audit. And we will receive a rebate for what we did at the elementary already. And then we will receive another rebate at completion for the other, just the 2 schools that I don't know what Finlayson with East Central has. They don't really have any kind of rebate program. So just only 2 elementary schools in Hinckley have the Minnesota Power that gives us rebates for quite a few things that we do. Lost my spot. We're also in process of switching over from Imperial Dade to Hilliard for cleaning supplies and paper supplies. The reason was Imperial Dade is in process of changing their dispensers, and they would only do the whole district at once, which would make it hard for me to, get rid of the rest of my product without, doing it last second and making sure that we're to the exact numbers. Hilliard will change each school over whenever we want it to, so I can easily get rid of what we have left over. Plus communication with them is a lot better. They have a friendlier website to order supplies, and all over sometimes Hilliard or Imperial Dade was hard to find somebody to actually talk to. So. Some changes at the school years with the retirement of Javan Parker. We decided to have Seth Randall come over to the high school, replace Javan over here, and we're gonna hire somebody to take over Seth's spot over at the elementary. We're in the process of doing interviews for that, and we'll move Seth over here as soon as we hire somebody for the elementary evening position. Over winter break, I believe we had good crews at all locations. I think they did a very good job of cleaning and staying on task. We did get a few smaller projects done, not everything that I wanted to, but we did make progress. Possible summer projects for the high school: finish LED lighting, sealing gym 1. We do have the product for gym 1, so we could do that in-house. It'll be no cost. Resurfacing gym 3, I think it would be a good idea to build up the sealer so we don't have the same issues that we did with gym 1 at the beginning. North sidewalks and some minor repairs around the building. FAC needs to have their curtains fireproof per Minnesota Fire Code. So that's every 7 or 8 years, and they gotta bring them in and fireproof them. And possibly new carpet in band room, choir, district office, and also pool covers, maybe. Because I'm just thinking the pool covers, if they only last 5 or 6 years, are you gonna build up $40,000 worth of chemicals that you're actually saving with the pool covers? HES possible summer projects: replace water heaters. They are starting to leak from the bottom. 1 boiler pump should be replaced or rebuilt. Hand washing stations for the bathrooms. 2nd grade bathroom toilet flanges should be redone. They're starting to leak around the edges. They're getting too corroded, or you can't tighten them up. Some sidewalk repairs around the building. The most urgent first. HES gym to be sealed, and a new slide for the playground. FES summer, Finlayson Elementary possible summer projects. Both pumps for the boilers are at the end of their life. They do need to be replaced. Warren is replacing couplers in them every month. And if that would happen on a weekend, that could be not good. And some mulch for the playground, and some sidewalk repair around the building. And last year, for the whole district, I did contact, an asphalt company just for maintenance on the parking lots. They took aerial pictures, of all 3 schools and the power over there too. And I talked to them today, and they would be able to get me a bit closer to the time, where not every one of them need to be resealed, but at least general maintenance, so they don't, it's not too late by the time we decide to do something to them, so.
Alright, is there any questions for Keith on maintenance?
Is gym number 1 the new gym?
Yes.
And can I ask another question? How many years have we had gym number 1 in service?
Since 2019.
Yeah.
1920 school year was the first year that we had that gym in place.
Is it normal to do a resurfacing at this point in time?
You know, I know it's hard to use Pine City as because they have 1 gym, but they do it twice a year.
Oh, okay,
That's because they have 1 gym, they use it for everything,
sure.
but, I think just the way it looks, it could be built up a little bit. Cause I know Al's been having a harder time getting some of the scuffs off, just cause there's not much underneath it, and last thing we wanna do is start getting down to the wood and, you know, discoloring it or start sanding the wood down, so.
Sure.
And if you look, you can see that it's fairly thin, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and mostly with Imperial Day last year, I think they went too fast, or, because there's a new guy doing it. Usually, we had a guy that was working there for like 30 years that did it. So the first year we used a new guy, and after he completed it, because you're not buying the labor, you're buying the product, it just didn't look as it has before, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Keith.
Yep.
Alright, next is board committees. Would any board members like to present from their committees?
So I had a few. PD, we talked about the 2 upcoming professional development days, Monday, or 2 Mondays anyway. Like Bonnie said, the one's in Mora, and the other one is here. Scott Irvin is coming in, and they're inviting parents and all the paras, any sub, to come in and go through the training as well. So I think it's a great opportunity. I don't know, have you heard from any parents or community members that want to join it?
I had somebody reach out from Pine County today asking if they could attend and just gather some resources they could share with parents as they're working with families.
So there's some interest in it anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the word's out there. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna send it out on Remind again, just to, you know, light the fire, but.
Yeah, a great opportunity to get parents in to learn what we're doing, so.
And that was the 23rd, right?
26th.
Monday.
That's gonna be in the Fine Arts Center. Here at high school.
In community ed, she's still struggling to get instructors for any kind of class, so if you know anybody that wants to teach a class, reach out to Pam. Lifeguards is, the new lifeguards. There's free swim for all students in our district. I think that's through February.
January and February.
And then Becky's retirement party is tomorrow here, so. Leo, was there anything else I could do? I think Brian kind of touched on it.
I think you covered everything.
Retention, communication, climate. We talked about the boards, and then they're trying to get more staff activities after hours too, to get staff members together, so throwing around some ideas as to what to do there.
There was just a lot of talk generated around like just the need for daycare in our area and just some discussion about that. Alright, next up is communications. Brian, are there any new communications?
Yeah, I put in your folder a flyer from Resource Training and Solution. They are someone we work with from us all the way to Sartell area, and they are looking for nominations for their board of directors, which would be a representation from some of the school districts that Resource serves. Just wanted to give you that information, see if anyone's interested. We would need to get that turned in, I believe, by the end of this month. So we can talk about it when we have if anyone's interested or wants to do that, we can do that at our January 22nd meeting. Second page application has to be received by the 31st. So just wanted to share that information. Resource we use quite a bit, principals, myself, Jonathan, they have staff trainings, resources for our nurses, and they help kind of put on our staff end of the year, winners year, staff of the year, and support staff of the year. So I think it would be a good thing if anyone's interested in being a representative on that board.
So I have been in contact with them, and I would be willing to be a nominee. They put you fill out the application and you turn in your letters and all of that. And then I believe they send out one vote to each member district, if I'm correct. So I would be willing to be the nominee if that's decided. And it's just one application, and everybody that wants to would need to sign the one piece of it. So.
Have we ever had anyone from this district be on the board?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Which would be really nice.
It's just, this needs to be by January 31st, so.
Okay, so do we want to wait until the 22nd or can we move forward on it now?
It doesn't need to be an action item, it just needs a majority of signatures from the board, so.
If you're willing to do it, I'll sign it.
I would as well.
Great. Okay.
We can get signatures at the end of the meeting.
All right, next up is the budget calendar topics and unfinished business.
You can see where our enrollment was as of January 1st. I know we had a week last week where we had some enrollments that came in after that, but then this week we've had a couple, or end of last week, beginning of this week, we've had a couple drops. So I would assume that's still pretty consistent to the 806. The principals, admin team, and I will begin to plan our staffing, what that could look like for next year. The high school's working on finishing up registrations. Mrs. Scullard's looking at current class sizes and then what's coming from the grades below. And we meet, I think next Wednesday or also the Wednesday after, to begin planning that. By February, I will bring the first draft of the revenue projections for next year. But really, we're also looking forward to seeing what the legislative session will do. They start, I believe, next week. So that's a lot of what we're doing as far as budget. Letter B, this is a procedural move at this point. We do it every year that as we go through the revenue projections, this reduction resolution would be from the board that would tell administration that if there is need, that you're authorizing us to make necessary cuts to staff or programs. I would hope to keep as many, if not all of our staff, and as many and not all of our programming as possible. But as we start to go through the revenue projections versus costs, there could be the need to make some reductions in programs and or staff. We will do everything we can to reduce the least amount as possible, but this resolution would give administration the authority to start looking at that and then informing those who may be affected by programming cuts. So I'd be looking for approval on the reduction resolution in letter B.
I'll make a motion.
Is there any questions about the resolution?
This is just during the school year, not.
As we go into next year to start making cuts.
So it's cuts.
We wouldn't be doing anything right now. it'd be going forward that there could be a need to make cuts
Got it.
to staffing or programming.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second to approve the resolution?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7-0.
So as the next one's just policy approval. I have the highlighted changes for 409 and 410. They're more just small recommendations that came out of MSBA. So I'd be looking for approval on those two policy changes or updates.
Are there any questions about the two policies that have been presented?
Is there gonna be a new policy coming forward with the, paid leave?
Probably next month.
That's what I thought.
Is there a motion to accept the two policies?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Alright, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next up is Jaguar Pride. And in order to get some of our positive news out, we are going to start reading off our Jaguar Pride. So congratulations to Haley Geiger and Grady Osmus, Hinckley-Finlayson's 2025 to 26 AAA Award nominees. They were honored on January 7th in Mora at the Grand Event Center with the opportunity to move on to the Section 5A event at the Kelly Inn on January 21st. Congratulations to Grady Osmus, who was chosen to move on to the Section 5 banquet. Hinckley VFW Post 4118 for their donation of 30 horseshoe kits to our Phi Ed department at HES. Madeline Schutte and Wes Sorum for taking our students to the all-conference band and choir performance on January 10th. And thank you to Vera Meyer and Jill Hopkins for organizing and bringing the Giving Tree at HES to life, from contacting families to coordinating shopping lists, wrapping gifts, and arranging pickup times. And then it's open enrollment.
Okay, I've shared kind of where our open enrollments, where our open enrollment numbers are compared to last school year. You can see at the top how many students attended these other places. 25, 26 is this year as compared to the first column last year, and what that aid lost would look like. Going down to the middle of the page are the enrollments that come into Hinckley-Finlayson. So you can see Bram, Central, McGregor, etc. And then the column on the far right is our residents that go to other school districts and how that compares to last year. So I know that's been talked about quite a bit, is kind of where are our students going, or who are we getting students from. This would be that report where you can see that breakdown. When all of that's considered, as far as ins and outs, we are down 186 students, which means we are losing 186 more students than we're gaining. So that's pretty similar to where we were last year, a little bit more, but still the trend that we're not wanting to see. Hoping to get more of those families back. A lot of these have online programs, things like that, or special ed programs, but this is the report that shows where our students are going who are enrolled in our district. Are there questions on any of the data on this document?
Okay, the next is board education.
Just sharing, just beginning of the year, which we talked about in November, but just because these terminologies continue to come up and will come up as we go through the budget process with special transportation, all those. So just kind of resharing this again to keep some of these terminologies in front of you, as we'll talk about probably every single one of these topics one way or the other as we head into budget season. So just thought I'd give a chance to see if there's any questions on any of these terminologies.
There's no questions, we'll move on to expenditures.
You can see where our expenditures for the district as of December 31st were, which is halfway through the school year, we had spent about just under 40% of our budget. The biggest area where you can see that maybe we're not in line with exactly what we thought was spending is community education. The reason that's so high is that is where we are funding the daycare program out of. And with not getting started till the end of December, that's where some of those costs have been. What isn't reflected is that we also have received some funding to help offset those costs, like that $90,000 grant we got from the county. But that is why community education looks so kind of out of bounds compared to these other numbers. The capital, again, why that's higher than the other ones is because we try to do much of that capital project before the school year starts. So otherwise, I'm very happy with where we are as the midpoint of the school year. And we'll keep an eye on that community education, and if the board would like, I can share what those revenues are that we've received for daycare products, and then as we start to get daycare revenue coming in more consistently.
Are there any questions or discussion about the expenditures?
Brian, can you give us an update on daycare? It is up and running, and what are
Out of the
good things on it already?
Heard nothing but good things. I have not taken any complaints. We have 13 of the 14 slots filled, which I believe the one is a toddler position, if I remember correctly to our meeting last week. Both Sarah Ranger and Bonnie Scullard have reported everything's going smoothly so far. I did walk in on a tuna fish day, which learned not to make faces about tuna fish in front of kids, but all in all, it seems to be going very well. Like I said, Mrs. Scullard from the management of the building side said things have gone well, and Sarah continues to report things are going well. So
Thank you.
yep, and we continue to advertise that one last opening that we have.
All right, next up is policy review, first reading.
Just any questions on either of these? I've highlighted what MSBA had for small changes. Otherwise, that would be the only things that I have in those are the small changes MSBA recommends.
All right, is there any discussion or questions about the two policies that have been presented? All right, if not, we'll move on to the special board meeting.
Just
with
want
MSBA.
to set officially, since we're in public, MSBA can come out January 22nd, which is next Thursday, to work with the board on the superintendent search. Hearing back, it sounded like it worked for the majority of you. If approved and that date doesn't work for you to be in person, I believe I can set that up to be virtual if you're at a place where you would have connection to the internet. I just would need to know by the 19th. But looking for approval to set that work session with MSBA next Thursday at 6 p.m. here in Hinckley.
Motion and a second, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And passes 7-0.
Brian, will that be in Hinckley?
In Hinckley, yep, in this room. Yes.
All right, and then next is the resolution to accept donated funds.
We talked about it, that the Hinckley Lions made a generous donation to help cover open swim costs for January and February. So they gave the dollar amount of $1,200 to go to cover those costs. So looking for approval to accept those funds.
Is there a second?
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
One more.
Okay, and now we will talk about the
School board election cycle.
school board elections.
Yeah, I was just wondering, could we study how much money we will actually save the school district by doing that? And then also the logistics of going from odd year to even year.
I can absolutely get the cost. We were beginning to work on that. I just didn't have it in front of me yet. I can easily pull how much we spent this year. I would wonder what the logistics look like, seeing that you have all been elected on an odd year. So I would need to do some research to figure out what that would look like. I know in the past, the board has felt that keeping them on odd years, and not that feelings can change, but in the past, we've kept it on odd years as the feeling was more people who are in tune to just school happenings come out and vote, where if it's a general election, certainly you have a lot more people, certainly it's a lot more convenient, there's a lot more polling places, I 100% agree with that, but not everyone could be invested as much in the school. So I can certainly, if the board would like, pull those costs, what that would look like. I would need to reach out to MSBA to see what that would look like as far as the board members' terms, since you were all on a 4-year, on an odd cycle, but I can certainly begin that if the board would like me to.
Do most of the schools do it on odd years?
Most do it on even. There's probably, I think the number I heard, about 30 districts left in the state that do it on odd years.
Okay.
Around us, East Central does. I don't think Mora or Pine City do, but I know East Central's still on odd years. But no, most go on even years. Because you share the costs with the county, with the other school districts, or when we do it on odd years, yep, it is all our cost. I think Willow may still do it on odd, because we were able to share a little bit this year with the machines, the voting machines. But in a general election, you share more of those costs with everybody.
I just think people are more in tune and know the school, because you're just going for that election. You're not going there just to check a box. You know who you're voting for. You're there for a specific reason. If you do it on a general, yeah, you have a lot more people. Yeah, I do agree. There's savings, there's all of that, but I want people voting because they want the right people up here, not just to check a box. So that's.
It's kind of like voting for judges, you have no idea.
You don't know
who
who
they
you're
are,
voting for, you're just checking a box.
anything about them.
I agree with what Angela said.
Any further discussion on that?
I just feel there's some low hanging fruit, and with declining attendance or enrollment, I think it's a no brainer to at least take a look at it and see what are the cost savings if we just, I mean, sometimes you gotta prioritize what's critical here, and I feel like this is a critical item to take, just at least take a look at.
But that also takes a lot of Brian's time to just go, and anytime he has to look something up, that takes away from other things, so.
I think right now, our transportation is really the most critical. Do we need to see if there's enough that want you to?
Yeah, I mean, you can change it to an action. I just put discussion, not knowing for sure. If you guys want to make it an action, you can. If you want to direct me to find that information, you can. I don't want to say the wrong number. I don't think it costs us a lot to run the election, but I can have Bridget pull those numbers. What the board's likely going to see next month is our fund balance is still stronger than what we thought. I don't know that. We probably will have to make cuts because of declining enrollment, but we are sitting healthy as far as our overall funding right now, even healthier than we had projected. So, but if the board would like me to pull at least what it cost this year to run an election, I can certainly do that. And that could certainly be part of our budget discussion as we go through the spring, if the board would like to see that.
Or could we just, so if it's an easy poll, could we just have that in the Friday update? And then we can kind of just look at it from there.
Yeah.
Because before digging into it too deep, I mean.
If the board wants to consider it, the part I'm more worried about is what it would look like for your 4-year terms, yeah. I'd wanna know that, because even next year, you'll start setting up the process to get ready for elections in the fall of 27. So I would want you all to know that, because that work begins already this upcoming summer. Not a lot of it, but getting ready for that 27 election does start this summer into the fall. So I would want you all to know, and the next superintendent to know, so we could have that set, for those of you who will be up for elections. Cause maybe if you change it, we wouldn't have to go to elections, I don't know, you know, does it just naturally extend to a 5th year? Or, you know, I would wanna know all those.
I think that's the legality that you have to look at. It might have to be a reduction of years. I don't know if you'd be able to like go to a 5th year.
Yeah.
You might have to go to
Yeah,
only
it's more-
a 3-year
Like,
term. I mean, that's gonna be
election.
state you know, statutes.
Would we have to do election this upcoming fall? That would be the part I'd wanna ask, is what that looks like. I mean, I can certainly ask about the financial side, but I guess I'm more worried about what that does, especially for those of you who are up for election the next go around. And maybe there'll be a way to get that answer at MSBA this week, at that conference. Maybe. Good, I have my head.
All right, next up is adjourn. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Also,
Oh, sorry.
Just remember, we're gonna take a picture quick before you go home.
Yes, stay for a
Sign the
picture.
form.
And they're
sign a
gonna
form.
sign some forms.
Okay. All right,